Good rising, brethren. This is Big Judah, coming to you guys from California. Before I begin, give all praises to the Most High, Yahweh. Acknowledgement to the earthly mother, who is wisdom, who is the Holy Spirit. Acknowledgement to Yahweh Shai. Prayer to the Most High blesses this lesson this evening, gives us more knowledge and understanding of the events of the past, in order to understand the events that are currently happening on the earth, so we may get a much better understanding of the events that are soon to come on the earth. We're now looking at how this coronavirus, the whole situation is now morphed into a pandemic. Every time I look on my feed on YouTube, you're seeing how just thousands of more people are being infected. You're seeing how in China, they're not even testing people because they don't even have enough kits to test people. You're hearing how, there's people dying. There's people here in the United States that are getting, they're coming down and being confirmed as having the virus. You're seeing how people are going on cruise ships and infecting many people that are around them. You're seeing this plague grow and grow daily. Now, the vast majority of the world is still stuck on white Jesus. And as long as they do not understand who the people of the book are, and as long as they don't understand where their lands are, they cannot understand any of the prophecies. We're going to be getting into some really important information that unlocks what is going on today. And it's funny how you'll hear many people say, well, I'm just bringing you the information on what's going on with coronavirus, but I'm not trying to, worry you. Yeah, I think now is the time that people should start to get worried, get alarmed. Because these are the things that happened to our people when the curses were switched from, the other nations to us Hebrews. I'm sure they were trying to tell us too that, hey, it's not that big of a deal. Don't worry about it. We don't want you to panic. But these curses, these plagues, overtook our people like a whirlwind. And you're hearing people say, hey, make sure you get masks. Make sure you get all of the gear that you need. Make sure you get the eye, the eye protection. Make sure you get all this stuff. None of that is going to matter. Because when the plagues are sent by the Most High, they will get whoever the Most High deems will get the plagues. They will bypass the ones the Most High has said that, he was going to protect from the plagues, just like in Psalms 91. This is all prophecy. But the problem is with most people is they don't read the word. They don't believe the word of the Most High. They don't believe that the Most High is a terrible power. They don't believe that the Most High brings judgment. And that's why the vast majority of the world will not understand what is happening. They will not understand prophecy. I'm going to read something because there was a comment, and it was just funny how, people will say things like, well, it doesn't matter where our lands are because that has nothing to do with salvation. Salvation has been determined by the Father before we got here. But knowing our lands and knowing where we came from, knowing what the Most High has given us as inheritance is also very important. Because without that knowledge and understanding, you cannot understand prophecy. You cannot understand what the Father is doing in the world. In Joel chapter 2, verse 18, it says, then will the Most High be jealous for his land and pity his people. Prophecy and the fulfillment of prophecy is twofold. The Most High is upset about two things, not just one. He is jealous for his land, and he also has pity for his people. Now, the whole world let us know who we are. They actually set up groups to let us know that we're the Hebrews. So us knowing who we are was important, but it wasn't the biggest secret that this world has been trying to keep. The biggest secret that this world is trying to keep has been where our lands are. Where are these lands that the Most High is jealous of? Those seem to be the biggest secrets that have been fought so hard to keep from the world. I mean, to the point that, history has been made to act, it seemed like it took place all in another area. To be, they went out of their way to give us another Holy Land. They went out of their way to rewrite history. They went out of their way to make it seem as if Deuteronomy 28:68 only works when you come from Africa. We have people even today who look just like us, who refuse to look at any new information, any historical information, and try to actually see if it makes any sense. So prophecy is twofold. And anyone who says like it doesn't matter is pretty much saying that what the Most High says in his book doesn't matter. Because he's the one that it right here says in Joel 2:18, then will the Most High be jealous for his land and pity his people. So this prophecy that is coming on the world, this judgment, is for the restoration of the land and the restoration of his people. And usually those are just demons anyways that are coming and trying to keep us from chasing after the Father all the way. As you can see, like I said, the other nations had no problem letting us know who we are. They set up groups letting us know who we are. But those same groups are some of the main obstacles finding out where our homeland is. Why is that? So you should be asking yourself, why is that? Why is it not important for us to know where we come from? Because they know that knowing who we are is one thing, but getting the blessing the blessing back is what the land is. And the vast majority of the people, they let you know who you are, but they don't want you to have that blessing. So they'll fight tooth and nail to keep you away from that blessing, because that's where the power is. There was something it was in the last video that I wanted to go a little bit deeper into. One little part here from this right here, Life of Columbus. Okay, here's the cover again. History of the Life and Voyages of Christopher Columbus by Washington Irving. We're just going to take a real quick look at this one section about Aristotle. Okay, Aristotle had imagined that the highest part of the earth and nearest to the skies was under the Antarctic pole. Other sages had maintained that it was under the Arctic. Hence, it was apparent that both conceived one part of the earth to be more elevated and noble. Hold on real fast. This is huge, okay? This is what we're going to concentrate on right now. That these very learned individuals know that a part of the earth is more elevated and noble and nearer to the heavens than the rest. They did not think of this eminence being under the equinoctial line, observed Columbus, because they had no certain knowledge of this hemisphere, but only spoke of it theoretically and from conjecture. The main point is the learned people totally understand that there is a land that is elevated, more noble, and nearer to the heavens than the rest. Okay? This is going to be the land of the Most High. This land, this blessing here, is going to be why we have so much knowledge and understanding of the heavens. It's also very important that we have these lands under our control, because it opened it up so for us to have more knowledge, understanding of what's going on in the heavens. We were closer to the Most High this way, closer to the heavens, closer to the stars. Now, what you're going to find out as we go on and look into this, some more information that we were told about the highest points of the earth aren't what they've been telling us. Where they've been setting up, you'll find out where they've been setting up observatories, then if they want to know about where what's going on in the skies, they're going to set up these observatories in the Most High's chosen land, in the Promised Land, because those lands are going to be located in a location that's much higher, and a noble lands closer to the stars. Now, if the Holy Land or Promised Land is over there in the so-called Middle East, then they should actually be setting up a lot of their observatories over there, because those are the lands chosen by the Most High, right? Those are the ones that are closer to the heavens, correct? That would only make sense, right? They wouldn't come set up stuff over here if the Promised Lands were really over there, would they? Let's find out. We know already about America and Africa, and the people having the same complexion but being totally different. Over here in the Americas, this is that noble land. This is that land that is higher, that is closer to the heavens and closer to the Most High. Let me show you. Sister was definitely talking about how, talking about Lucifer, the observatory that the Vatican has, and how it's actually located over here in Arizona. But that doesn't make sense, if the Promised Land is over there, and those are the noble lands, then why would they bring a observatory all the way over here across the ocean? That doesn't make any sense. They should have that over there in so-called Israel. Take a look here. Many people are surprised to learn that the Vatican even has an observatory. The history of the Vatican Observatory goes back 2.5 centuries. During its history, there has been some turmoil and several moves to escape the light and other hindrances that large cities such as Rome pose to doing astronomy. So they're trying to make it sound like because Rome's a big city that they had to go find somewhere else where there's not as much, hustle and bustle. Come on now. That's not why you guys chose to bring that over here. It says, but okay. Therefore, more than half a century ago, the Vatican Observatory established a research group at the Steward Observatory, okay, of the University of Arizona in Tucson, while the Vatican Observatory's headquarters remained in Italy. So the headquarters for their, observatory is in Italy, but they actually placed this observatory over here in Arizona. Now they know they're going to set up that observatory to be in the best position that they can get to monitor the heavens, to monitor, the Most High, what's going on up there in the heavens. So they didn't choose anywhere over there. They brought that mess over here. So let their actions speak louder than their words. Look at what they do, not what they tell you. And you're going to see a pattern really quick. Observatory names. These ones here. Let me go on my phone. Okay. Let me find. I have a lot of stuff open here. Let's see. I have a list. What is it here? List of highest astronomical observatories. So you want to know like where the highest astronomical observatories are, because this should give you your clue as to where the Most High's holy lands are. Remember now, Aristotle and these sages knew that there was going to be a land that's going to be higher up than the other lands. It's going to be a land of milk and honey. It's going to be a land with a climate that's not too hot, not too cold, just like what they were talking about in that book of Columbus. So let's take a look at where a lot of these places are right here. So we have, I took 2 pictures here. University of Tokyo Atacama Observatory. You just take a look there. I'm not going to read all those, but you can see those. Okay, they got the elevation. All right. So let's see here. Let's see. The highest one is in Chile. The next one is in Bolivia. Hold on real quick here. Chile again. Chile, we got one here in China, another one in Argentina. Okay. And you can look this up yourself. Okay. Chile, China, Argentina, Chile, Mexico, India, Colorado, United States, Hawaii, United States, Mexico, Hawaii again, California, Andes, and Venezuela. Okay. So the vast majority of these super high observatories are located over here in the Americas, mostly down in South America, close to the equatorial line. Okay. So, like I said, don't go by what they tell you. If they tell you that the promised land is over there, but then they're setting up all of these observatories over here, that should let you know exactly where these lands are that are supposed to be elevated and closer to the heavens, closer to the Most High, giving you your view of the Most High. So, like I said, don't look at what they say, look at what they do. Next, we've been told about Mount Everest being like the highest mountain on the earth. Well, check this part out. Then another one of their, another one of their lies being exposed this evening. What is the highest point on Earth as measured from Earth's center? The top of Mount Chimborazo is farther from the Earth's center than Mount Everest. The highest point above Earth's center is the peak of Ecuador's Mount Chimborazo, located just 1 degree south of the equator, where Earth's bulge is the greatest. So we've been taught about Mount Everest our whole lives, all of us, so that we would never look at the fact that the place that's closest to the stars on the surface of the Earth is actually in Ecuador. Let's read a little bit. Mount Everest, located in Nepal and Tibet, is usually said to be the highest mountain on Earth, reaching 29,029 feet. At its summit, Everest is indeed the highest point above global mean sea level, the average level for the ocean surface from which elevations are measured. But the summit of Mount Everest is not the farthest point from the Earth's center. Earth is not a perfect sphere, but is a bit thicker at the equator due to the centrifugal force created by the planet's constant rotation. Because of this, the highest point above Earth's center is the peak of Ecuador's Mount Chimborazo, located just 1 degree south of the equator, where Earth's bulge is greatest. There we go. The summit of Chimborazo is 20,564 feet above sea level. However, due to Earth's bulge, the summit of Chimborazo is over 6,800 feet farther from the center of the Earth than Everest Peak. That makes Chimborazo the closest point on Earth to the stars. Got them again. There you go. Lying again. So they had to set it up so that you would never look over here and realize that Chimborazo is the closest point on Earth to the stars. They didn't want you to know that because eventually you'll realize that the Most High raised up the Promised Land to be the highest point, to be closest to the Most High. So they had to hide that. So they get rid of that information and give you Mount Everest. If you look at the bottom, it says, you may be surprised to learn that Everest is not the tallest mountain on Earth either. That honor belongs to Mauna Kea, a volcano on the Big Island of Hawaii. Mauna Kea originates deep beneath the Pacific Ocean and rises above more than 33,500 feet from the base to the peak. So again, now we got the largest mountain, or the one that's actually the highest peak, closest to the stars, is in Ecuador. Right? We got more coming right now. You got the Vatican, who they can build their observatories anywhere. They decided to build it over here in Arizona. Right? Now we got more coming. Now you realize that they've been lying about Mount Everest too. If you want to get the closest to the stars, you're going to go to Ecuador. Now you're seeing why when they came over here, that our people here had so much more understanding of the planets, of the calendar, of the movement of the stars, okay? Because they were closer to the stars. They had the information. So that should let you know where the promised lands were. And the other nations who were, Ham, given the hot lands, and Japheth, given the cold lands, their lands were at a lower level. So therefore, they didn't have access to the stars and that information like we did. That's why they were barely learning about the planets, in the 1900s. Things that our people had already known for thousands of years, because our land was elevated closer to the stars. Most High had already downloaded that information to our people. See how much deeper this goes. Next, again, what did I say? Don't go by what they say, go by what they do. Chile begins construction on the world's largest telescope in Atacama Desert. Okay? Why would they be building the world's largest telescope here? Wouldn't they want to build that over there in Israel and the Most High's chosen land over there, right? Because that should be the land that's most elevated, correct? Well, we know why they're not doing that, because that's not the chosen land. Check this out. Among other capabilities, it will add to and refine astronomers' burgeoning discoveries of planets orbiting other stars, with the ability to find more smaller planets, image larger ones, and possibly characterize their atmospheres. A key step in understanding if life is present. The dry atmosphere of the Atacama provides a near perfect observing conditions, as it is possible to find on the Earth. With some 70% of the world's astronomical infrastructure slated to be located in the region by the 2020s. Oh, that's weird. So you're trying to tell me that now they're going to put 70% of the world's astronomical infrastructure is slated to be located in the region by the 2020s. And what else they say? The dry atmosphere of the Atacama provides a near perfect observing conditions, okay, as it is possible to find on Earth. So the best conditions are located right here in South America. So like I said, don't go by what they tell you. Well, you got all these people, all these groups, Africa, Africa, Africa. Well, if it was Africa, then why aren't they building observatories in Africa? If Africa was the one that originated all this information about the stars and all this understanding about, the celestial events, why isn't all this stuff in Africa? Because that's not where it began. It began here in the Americas. And then now they're showing you with the fact that they're building all this information, all this infrastructure over here. I think that's important to read that again. The dry atmosphere of the Atacama provides as near perfect observing conditions as it is possible to find on Earth. Well, if the other nations, or if the Holy Lands are over there, then the perfect conditions should be over there, because the Most High is going to give His people the best conditions. He's going to give them the best lands. That's exactly what happened during the time of Noah, when he was giving out his inheritance. Shem got the best lands. Shem would have gotten the lands that were closest to the Most High. So Shem, we already know the seed, the chosen seed, had all this information and knowledge of the stars. So they were going to be able to observe it much better than the other people. So therefore, you find out where they're building these observatories, where they're trying to, get a glimpse of what's happening in the skies. That'll let you know where the lands are. It says, a giant telescope in Chile captures image of galaxy NGC 1055. The ELT is being funded by who? Who's funding all this stuff? The European Southern Observatory, an organization consisting of European and Southern Hemisphere nations. Construction costs were not available, but the ESO has said previously that I think would cost around 1.12 billion at 2012 prices. So we got the Europeans who came over here and stole all our resources, are now going to use our resources to come back over here and build more observatories. 70% of the infrastructure, mind you. But hey, yeah, these aren't the chosen lands, though. These aren't the promised lands, though. It's not making any sense, is it? Why you got so many so-called Hebrews who don't even look at this information and just dismiss it out of hand without even looking at this information. Look at what they do, not what they say. This is what it looks like at the Atacama area, where they can see half of the Milky Way, part of the Milky Way. Now you imagine what that looks like when you build these powerful telescopes, what you can see. I was just floored when I saw these pictures. But like I said, what, 18,000 feet up, 18,000 plus feet up, almost near perfect conditions. So that there alone should let you know where the promised lands are. Aristotle and them were totally realized that there's going to be a land elevated to be closer to the Most High. A holy land, a separate. That's what this whole land has been before. It was a holy land to keep us separated. And that was part of the covenant. As long as we kept our part of the covenant, the Most High would have kept us separated. But we did not. Just look at that. Do a little of your own research. See what you find. But now it makes sense as to why they're trying to move 70% of the, of their infrastructure for looking astronomical infrastructure, looking up the stuff, looking these things up, researching what's going on in the skies. Now you see why. Because these provide almost perfect conditions for observing the skies. Now, as you can see, there's a whole lot of evidence that shows you, that these are the lands that the Most High has set up. These are the lands that the Most High has blessed with, given the opportunity to research the skies, research the stars. That's been something. Then, if you read the Bibles, it's written in a certain way that tells you pretty much to not look at the stars. Don't look at the skies. Why is that? Because of course they don't want you to realize that once you start to look in the skies and the stars, you'll start to realize that they're going to lead you back to the promised land. Once you realize that the Most High separated these lands, gave our people the best lands, but also gave us the best lands to be able to follow Him, to be able to observe Him. We were the ones that had all this knowledge. So it only makes sense that if we had all this knowledge, that we were making observations of the stars. So then you got to find out where are the best places to observe the stars. Where are the best places, to have time to research what's going on in celestial events. That's all right here. But what did they do? They gave you Mount Everest, so that it's over there, while there's, not telling you the truth, while they're building observatories here, while they're spending all these billions of dollars to set up everything here, while the Vatican sets up their headquarters in Rome, but they have their Satan observatory here in Arizona. So like I said, don't go by what they say. Go by what they do. That lets you know all you need to know. All praise is to the Most High, Yahweh. Acknowledgement to the earthly mother, who is wisdom, who is the Holy Spirit. Acknowledgement to Yahweh Shai. Shalom.